The second midline broke and a new 38-centimetre PICC line was inserted completely awake without any sedation. Please see PICC information below. Her blood results constantly show that her body is fighting infections and that she's been both neutropenic, see blood results, with very high white blood cells.
A PICC line is an intravenous tube that carries drugs directly into the bloodstream. And in that video Meg sent the sleuths to prove she was ill, I can clearly see that Megan does have a PICC line fitted.
I've had my hospital letters, my documents, my PICC line here into my heart.
And there are all these photographs too that Jean took of their hotel room. And looking at it, I mean, it looks like a hospital stock cupboard, to be honest. And Meg's got 3 full bags of syringes. I can see alcohol prep pads, which are used for cleaning cuts. There's maybe 20 or 25 oxygen cylinders, a wheelchair, intravenous tubes, and a box of what looks like portable intravenous drips. If they were on holiday in Disney, what on earth were they doing with all of that?
That part just blows my mind because they know that they're not being honest about her illnesses, but by the looks of it, all the photographs that was sent to us as proof were all the medicines and oxygen tanks, and I think maybe she had kind of a cannula going into her arm. I believe that Megan was taking a lot of medicine.
It's hard to understand how someone could pretend to be sicker than they are to steal money. But what I find even harder to comprehend is why Meg would have all this treatment, see all these doctors and take all this medication if she didn't need to. Looking through the evidence Jean sent, I'm wondering whether Megan doesn't just love Disney. Maybe she also loves doctors. Maybe she was fundraising to go to America to have genuine medical treatment, some or all of which she didn't actually need. But why would anyone want to do that? I have a slightly strange relationship with doctors. I definitely class myself as a bit of a hypochondriac, one of those people who feels a slight pain, Googles it, and ends up in A&E 3 hours later. I once got told by a specialist to stop coming back. There was nothing actually wrong with me. I'd always heard there was another group of people like us hypochondriacs who also keep going back to the doctors again and again, except with one important difference. They know they aren't ill. They're faking it. So I get in touch with a woman called Cindy, hoping she might help me understand what Megan might be doing. For years, doctors thought Cindy was suffering from epileptic seizures and fainting episodes, until she admitted that she was making it all up.
I don't want to be sick because I hate being sick, but I want to be sick so that I get that legitimate attention. That desire to be sick is always there.
Cindy says she was always fascinated with being sick and hurting herself. She loved the show ER, of course, but there was something more.
I think it was just the idea of being a patient appealed to me. I remember wanting to go for Halloween in a wheelchair, and I just had that fascination and that desire to be in that role.
But the faking really started when Cindy was 15 and with her boyfriend. They had an argument one evening on his front lawn.
And I just pretended to faint. I just fell forward into the grass, and I was nervous, and I remember him coming and sitting down beside me, and he was all worried about me and scared, and we got up and he rushed me to the hospital.
The following week, she pretended to faint again in maths class. The teacher tried to wake her up, but she didn't respond.
So he got me to the floor, and they called an ambulance. They came. I was taken into the same hospital, and it just escalated from there.
Cindy started going to more extreme lengths to get back into hospital. She started faking epileptic seizures on the bus, in the street, What were you thinking? Were you worried about getting found out?
I wasn't so much worried about being found out as I was worried about being believed. I just felt like I needed to have somebody believe me that I was really sick, even though I wasn't.
She says she loved the attention, being believed by people in positions of authority and power. Almost as if the world is somehow nicer when you're not well. It was hard work, says Cindy. Keeping up with your own lies can be exhausting. But how come the doctors believed her?
So I would go to the library, which had quite a bit of information, and I did research there, and that's how I figured out you cry out, you wet your pants, you poop your pants, things like that. And so I did all that, and I know it's kind of gross, but it was, it made it more convincing. Also, quite often when I'd go to a doctor, they would say, did this happen? And so I'm like, okay, that was supposed to happen. And so I've adapted a little bit. Yeah.
With careful planning, Cindy managed to fool doctors for years and underwent numerous hospital stays and tests. Did you ever, though, feel like you were sort of pushing it too far, like you'd done stuff that was actually starting to make you genuinely sick as a result of your sort of
Yeah, I've had probably at least 20 concussions.
One time, Cindy swallowed tiger balm. Another, she tried to contaminate her own breathing machine. But she couldn't stop. She says it's like a drug. It's addictive, and you always want a bigger hit.
Having their attention did fill that loneliness, but that was why I kept craving so much more and more and more, because it was never enough. It's almost like having a beer when you're an alcoholic, right? And then it just kind of escalates.
Eventually, Cindy was diagnosed with a rare and mysterious disorder. It was first identified in 1951 by a brilliant endocrinologist from Central Middlesex Hospital called Richard Asher. Asher was fascinated by the relationship between mental and physical health. For years, he'd been in charge of the mental observation unit at Central Middlesex, where he saw thousands of patients. He noticed that a small but consistent number of them complained of various symptoms, but on closer inspection were perfectly healthy. Asher wrote up his findings in the renowned medical journal, The Lancet. Here is described a common syndrome which most doctors have seen, but about which little has been written. Like the famous Baron von Munchausen, the persons affected have always travelled widely, and their stories, like those attributed to him, are both dramatic and untruthful. Accordingly, the syndrome is respectfully dedicated to the Baron and named after him. He called it Munchausen syndrome. Munchausen syndrome is not the same as hypochondria, explained Asher. Hypochondriacs exaggerate and panic, but they really do think they're ill. Munchausen patients know they aren't, but they come anyway, for the attention, for the gratification, to fulfill some deep need to be believed. The sleuths don't know what's driving Meg's behaviour, if it's Munchausen or some kind of simple fraud. They may not know the whole truth, but they're utterly convinced that Meg and Jean are lying. People are still donating to believe in magic. Many of them are bereaved or caring for sick children. So the sleuths make a big decision. It's time to tell everyone what they've discovered, to lay it all out on the line.
The Truth About Meg and Jean Facebook page, December 2016.
The page is an honest attempt to establish the truth about Meg and Jean and their summer of 2016 spent in America. Meg's Turn for Magic was set up to raise money for them because Meg was supposedly receiving critical medical care in America. There are many who have concerns about the veracity of their story and its dramatic and incredible nature. Having been blocked and deleted from Meg's Turn for Magic, this is an open page where everything that is known can be seen and read, and people can make their own minds up.
They post all the evidence they've carefully gathered over the previous few months. Their messages and email exchanges with Meg and Jean. screenshots of past fundraisers, the seemingly exaggerated and contradictory posts, a transcript of the conversation when Joe called the Disney hotel, the fact Meg and Jean walked off the boat looking fine. In short, the story we've just told you. But once again, Jean doesn't confess. She doesn't apologise. Instead, she decides to tell the world what the sleuths have put her and Megan through.
What you may not know is that for several months we've been stalked, threatened and blackmailed by a tiny group of people who have made our lives hell. All their communication has been recorded and any further criminal activity will be added to this. However, we are so truly grateful to have had hundreds and hundreds of messages showing your love and support. It means more at this time than you could ever know. Love, Jean and Meg.
The child cancer community is ripped in two, and most people believe Meg and Jean.
I'm disgusted with what's happened.
Some scumbags just being arsehole. I would trust these ladies with my kids' lives, let alone a flipping child.
You lot are either mentally ill and need medical support yourselves, or you're just generally evil, pink. I hope you can live with yourself and you're proven to be the spiteful and poisonous bitch you are. Karma is a bitch. Remember that.
Right, okay. So yeah, they couldn't do any wrong.
Many of these families had children who were living with cancer. Some had lost children to the disease. Meg and Jean had offered support and comfort to countless families at their lowest moments. Those families couldn't comprehend how the two people who'd given them so much and who'd seen up close what it's like to live with cancer could have lied about it all. The sleuths are worried that no one will ever believe them. They tried going undercover. They tried going public on Facebook. Nothing seemed to work. But armed with their new evidence, they try again to get the authorities involved. Jo travels to London to present the Charity Commission with her information about Meg, Jean, and Believe in Magic. She sends the police her research too, including the report from the private detective who snapped Meg and Jean walking off the Queen Mary 2 ocean liner. It takes a while, but in February 2017, the Charity Commission finally opens an inquiry into Believe in Magic and hauls Jean in for questioning. There are also rumours that the police are investigating. The parties stop. The donations slow to a trickle. The once omnipresent fairy godmothers disappear from public view. In the face of the relentless effort of these amateur sleuths, things are finally falling apart for Meg and Jean. How are you feeling towards the end of 2017?
We are happy that we've put a stop to it, and you know, there's it was upsetting that there was so many issues within our community, that there was so much, you know, name calling and anger towards us, but there was nothing else that we could do at that point. They were back from Florida, we'd given the police our proof and we'd spoken out, and that's all we could do, so we went back to our normal lives.
The fraud had been damped down, but were you worried about Megan?
It has to get to a point where there's nothing more I can do, you know, as long as she's not taking vulnerable families' money or there's no ongoing scams, then who knows where Megan is and what she's doing now is how I felt at that time.
Amongst all the uncertainty about what Meg and Jean were doing in America, we do know one thing. They were at Disney. Because we've recently been shown receipts from Meg and Jean's Disney stay. On the 12th of July 2016, the day Jean said Meg was admitted to hospital with sepsis and multiple infections, Jean paid $618 for a 3-bedroom grand villa with Savannah views, and another $59 eating at the Flavours of Africa restaurant. Later that week, they spent $180 eating at the Cinderella Royal Table in the Magic Kingdom Park. On the 29th of August 2016, the day the fundraising appeal Meg's Turn for Magic was launched, they spent $380 on a villa and room service. Between July and November 2016, as Jean updated supporters about Meg's desperate condition and pleaded for money, the pair spent a staggering $72,500 living at a luxury Disney resort. By the spring of 2018, the sleuths are confident that it will only be a matter of time before the authorities expose Meg and Jean for charity fraud and faking a brain tumour. Until early one morning when Jo is at home and her phone buzzes.
So I wake up and I get a text that says, "Evil bitch, are you happy now? Wait for the police."
What?
I was like, oh, what? So I go straight to the messenger group and Lisa says, "Megan's dead. Megan's dead."
Believe in Magic is a BBC Studios podcast. It's presented by me, Jamie Bartlett. The series producer is
Megan's dead. And I was like, wow, what? Like, the shock. Because as far as I was concerned, Megan didn't have a serious illness.
Jean had posted the news on Facebook.
On the 28th of March 2018, my whole world changed. At 11:53, Megan's heart stopped beating and I knew she was on her way to heaven. We prayed and we prayed, but nothing could help my baby girl. And I held her hands as she died. Inside, I too was dying. All I kept saying is, "Darling, if you want to go, please go and be happy."
The sleuths wanted justice, but not like this.
There was a lot of questions that day and a lot of sadness that it wasn't supposed to end like this. We did a group call and just discussed it, but we were all completely baffled and shocked and throwing different, maybe it was this, maybe it was that, maybe she isn't.
Did the group come to some conclusion about what you thought it might have been?
No. We had absolutely no idea what happened.
I'm Jamie Bartlett. This is Believe in Magic, Episode 4, The Doctors.
We used to say to her, "You'll be late for your own bloody funeral," and there we all were on our way to her funeral.
Yeah, it is a bit late, but I've just unlocked this.
Do you mean
I just unlocked this gun.
On the way?
Oh yeah, in the car.
So I want to level it a little bit. I just spent a little bit of time leveling it.
Jean and Meg's friend, Lucy Pettigino, was driving to Meg's funeral just outside London.
You got it yet? I'm pretty sure.
From all over the country were en route.
I haven't got it yet. Honestly, I think this is the gun that you said you were doing earlier. I took this Lackman shroud off of somebody else earlier on in the game, and oh my god, I was just shredding with it. So
it's not happening.
That is.
Were you told what happened?
I should pause this
I don't know if
podcast I'm listening to.
Jean had intervened, or someone may have said the
it
police
does.
were involved.
Look at that. I mean, it just hits.
I can't imagine what it must have been like for Megan's friends and family to have to turn around and go home.
I mean, at the moment I've got it on its lowest setting. I mean, it's level 1.
I've never
so.
heard of a funeral being cancelled at such late notice. Whatever the reason, Jean must have had no choice.
It's all right. I'm going
For the
to sleep.
families
Got
who
to be up
support
in
Meg and
like 5
Jean,
hours.
her
Oh,
funeral
jeez, mate,
being
go to bed,
stopped
yeah.
was more evidence of how the sleuth
Go to bed.
ruined Meg's
I'll
life.
catch you. I've got a wedding
Their
tomorrow
online
morning,
campaign
so
prevented a poorly young woman from raising money for life-saving treatment and led to her charity being investigated.
probably be at that all
And
evening.
now a shadow has been cast over her funeral.
I'm not sure if I'm on tomorrow, but
died?
if I get back in there, then I will be. Yeah, sure.
She passed away.
I've got a gold wedding. All right, Sunday. Sunday, yeah. That sounds more likely. Right, mate. Have a good one tomorrow anyway, and get to sleep. You've only got 5 hours.
Eventually, there's a second funeral. This one went ahead. Meg and Jean had attended lots of funerals over the previous 5 years. Nearly all children need help. Now, it was Jean's turn to mourn. Lucy Pettigini, whose daughter died of a brain tumour, was there. How was it?
It was sad. It was really sad. It was really sad. It was kind of like the end of the. Although obviously there'd been all this trouble, kind of was the real end of all the magic for these children. Nice. I think that's the really sad thing. I'm talking about poorly children that absolutely adored Meg, that were still obviously going through treatments, and
see you, mate.
for them because she was like.
Have a good night. Have a good day tomorrow as well.
To these children, that's how she was. That's how these children, very ill children, saw her. It was it's really sad. Really sad. And as I say, I haven't heard from Jean since. I did message her a couple of times just to see how she was, and she never replied.
The sleuths have no idea how Megan died, but they are confident that whatever she died of, it wasn't a brain tumour. Despite everything I've seen, the photos of Meg and Jean getting off the Queen Mary 2, the receipts from Disney, Meg's death makes me wonder, what if the sleuths got it all wrong? I've seen this with online detectives before. They come up with a theory and then go online to find evidence that backs it up. We all do it. I've done it before too. When I first came across this story, I wondered how we'd ever actually get to the truth. Because apart from Jean, the only people who really know whether Megan had a brain tumour are her doctors. Patient-doctor confidentiality is so strict, even after a patient dies, I knew they'd never speak to us. But there is one circumstance when they're allowed to talk. In fact, they have to talk. If someone dies in unusual circumstances, a coroner, which is a kind of judge, opens legal proceedings to determine how that person passed away. Every day in the UK, over 100 coroner's conclusions are made. Each one its own story, a detailed examination into a person's final moments. They usually involve testimony under oath from doctors that were involved in a deceased person's care. And we discover that on the 16th of November 2018, nearly 8 months after Megan Barry died, Mary Hassel, the coroner for Inner North London, held an inquest into her death. Surely that will reveal what happened to Meg. The only problem is that getting hold of inquest recordings is almost impossible. The producer, Ruth, has been trying to work out if we can get access.
Now, the issue with these hearings is that if you know they're about to happen and you want to go, anyone can go, including journalists, and you can take notes and listen. You can't make a recording, and the only people who are granted recordings afterwards are what's called interested parties, and that might include a family member, but it doesn't necessarily include journalists.
We apply for permission to hear a recording of the inquest, but it was more in hope than expectation. And then one morning, I'm working with Ruth, and we get some news.
So I've just got an email from the coroner's court in St Pancras in London.
Thank you for your email dated 8th of February. You've requested a recording of the inquest touching the death of Megan Barry that was held on the 16th of November 2018. Inquests are public hearings, and journalists, like other members of the public, are very welcome to attend any inquest in Inner North London. But we've missed it. These days, inquests are recorded and rarely transcribed, so there is a recording. It can be disclosed to interested persons, But unfortunately, the definition of interested persons does not include journalists, so I'm afraid you're not entitled to the recording or documents. We don't have access to Megan's medical records, so without the coroner's inquest, we might never fully understand how Meg died. But check this out. However, given the nature of this inquest and your request, in these very exceptional circumstances, Coroner Hassel is prepared to allow you to listen to a recording of the inquest. I can facilitate this for you at St Pancras Coroner's Court. This is amazing, and look, I shall play the recording once through and I shall sit in court with you during that time. Just one time, we've got one chance to listen. You will not be allowed to make any sort of recording, but you are very welcome to take notes. I mean, amazing. So we basically got to make as many notes as we possibly can.
You need to learn shorthand.
What a strange thing as well, like, that you have to go into a court and listen to a recording, but you can't have a recording yourself. Such a strange rule, isn't it?
I wonder what they mean when they say given the nature of this inquest.
Yeah, well, let's phone her before she changes her mind. Coroner's Court before?
I've never been to Coroner's Court, have you?
No. One rainy day in March 2022, Ruth and I head to St Pancras Coroner's Court. It's an old municipal building. You've seen the kind before. The red bricks, window frames in need of repair, the busy notice board. It's tucked away, almost embarrassed by the shiny new developments that surround it. Google's brand new 1 million square foot mega campus, a shrine to our modern love affair with tech, is being built just around the corner. As the court clerk sets up the sound system for us, we wait nervously outside, hoping we'll get the answers we've been looking for.
If she didn't have a brain tumour, I'm hoping that it will give us clues as to what we should be asking next.
Okay. Let's see where we can... Oh, it's hot in here.
So can I just record my voice saying what she said? So the lady who is going to play us the recording has just told us that in the 10 years she's worked here, she's never heard of anyone being allowed to hear a recording of an inquest after it's happened. Normally they would just tell us what the findings of the inquest were.
We're led into a large wood-panelled room with red leather seats. Something like a cross between a court and an old pub. There's me, the producer Ruth, and Claire. Claire is our secret weapon here. We aren't allowed to record what we're about to hear, so we ask Claire to come. She's a stenographer, someone who, using a small machine called a steno that looks a bit like a typewriter but without letters, can take notes so fast and so accurately that it's as good as having a tape recorder. For over 2 hours we sit and listen to the intimate details of a case we know so much about, and yet so little. Finally, it feels like we're in the consultation room with Meg and Jean and their doctors. And what I heard, it wasn't what I expected. Oh, it's just awful. It's really not nice listening to that, was it? It felt quite intrusive. It was really sombre. It was also the account of her death, the actual death. It was so grim. It was such a long and drawn out affair that the anaesthetists and the surgeons and stuff basically had to give up with exhaustion after 2.5 hours. You stop thinking about all the investigation and you're just thinking, what is this girl going through? It's easy to get carried away with interesting concepts and big ideas and, you know, sleuthing and different conditions, but when you hear the details of someone's death, it becomes very real. I understand now a bit better why they don't just hand out recordings of these things. But look, here are some of the things I think we just learned. First, Megan died at the National Hospital for Neurology and Neurosurgery. It specialises in treating brain conditions, but she wasn't there because of a brain tumour. She was there being investigated for idiopathic intracranial hypertension, the condition she claimed to have before the brain tumour. Remember, the one she used to post about on an IIH forum before Believe in Magic started. Because we couldn't record the inquest, actors are reading out the words of the doctors and Coroner Mary Hassel, who speaks first.
I now call to give evidence Lewis Thorne. Can you please give me your full name, your professional role, and your professional address?
My name is Lewis Ward Thorne. I'm a consultant neurosurgeon and I work at the National Hospital for Neurology and Neurosurgery at Queen Square in London.
Lewis Thorne saw Megan the morning she died, but he first met her 5 years earlier, soon after she'd had her brain shunt fitted. So Megan was being investigated and treated for idiopathic intracranial hypertension, raised brain pressure, a condition which has many of the symptoms of a brain tumour, but without the tumour. When Lewis Thorne first saw her, Megan was reporting painful headaches whenever she lay down. He carried out some tests to find out whether raised brain pressure could be responsible, but he couldn't find anything. Her shunt, which drained fluid from the brain to the abdomen through a hole in the skull, seemed to be working normally. And when Megan arrived at the National Hospital for Neurology and Neurosurgery just 4 days before she died, doctors were again concerned her brain shunt wasn't working properly, that pressure could be building up in her brain and pressing on her optic nerve. Lewis Thorne wanted to test Megan's brain pressure by inserting a needle into her spine to draw off some cerebral spinal fluid under general anaesthetic. He told her she was at risk of losing her sight. One day Megan would say yes, the next day she'd withdraw her consent, saying she was too nervous to have the procedure. This went on for some days, and in the end, she never had the test. Because unexpectedly, in the evening of the 28th of March 2018, Megan went into cardiac arrest. She was rushed to the operating room, where for over 2 hours doctors battled to save her life. When it was clear there was nothing more they could do, Jean was rushed in to see Megan one final time, and Megan was pronounced dead just before midnight. Reliving the harrowing resuscitation efforts, the consultant anaesthetist who tried to revive her sounds distraught.
My team and myself gave it absolutely everything we could, and I'm so sorry that we weren't able to get Megan back.
Different medical professionals involved in her care give evidence as the inquest tries to determine how it got to that point. Dr. Siobhan Burns, an immune system specialist, was involved in Megan's care from September 2013 until April 2017.
I assessed her for immunodeficiency and concluded that she had no significant immune deficiency.
Yet when Megan went to America in 2016, she claimed she was seriously ill in hospital with sepsis because of immunodeficiency, caused in part by her tumour. Megan would go to Dr. Burns reporting symptoms, mostly recurrent sore throats. When Dr. Burns tested her, she never found any proof of infection. But Dr. Burns was worried about something else.
I had significant concerns about her opiate-seeking behaviour, the validity of her medical history, and the nature of her engagement with medical services. My concerns were shared by other professionals, with whom I had many multidisciplinary team discussions, which finally resulted in a referral to her local mental health team.
We saw a prescription for morphine in the evidence documents sent to the sleuths. I assumed that was about pain relief, but this seems to suggest possible addiction. Dr. Siobhan Burns even brought up these concerns with Lewis Thorne, the specialist in brain pressure, and it turns out he was worried about it too.
I was concerned that she was vulnerable and that she was taking a higher dose of opiates than was required, and I wondered whether that was part of the reason that she was unwell.
Lewis Thorne got together the many doctors involved in her care to find out who was responsible for the morphine prescription, but they couldn't figure it out. At the inquest, another consultant, Megan's endocrinologist, offers a clue.
In November 2017, I was contacted by Harrods Pharmacy. I was told that there had been an attempt to obtain Oromorph with my name on the prescription. I was later sent a copy of the prescription, and the signature was clearly a poor forgery. I was later contacted by the police in this regard.
So a forged prescription for liquid morphine. There are more revelations, like the fact that Megan had a breast reduction aged just 17, the sheer number of doctors Megan was seeing, but also the number of appointments she missed. Lewis Thorne also picked up on this.
It is concerning the number of doctors that were involved in her care. Opinions taken from abroad that we did not have any documentation of made it very difficult to look after her.
Lewis Thorne tried to arrange to see Megan as part of a large group, to make sure all her doctors were getting the same information and work out what was going on. But Megan stopped turning up to his clinics. When the forensic pathologist Alan Bates conducted his post-mortem, he found something shocking. He found nothing.
The brain itself, apart from the shunt, appeared morphologically normal. It had a normal weight, and there were no signs of either cerebral edema or raised intracranial pressure.
Her brain appeared normal. No swelling, no high pressure, and no brain tumour mentioned anywhere. So what did kill Megan?
Histologically, I didn't find any significant changes except in the liver, where I saw very severe fatty change, replacement of the normal tissue of the liver by fat. So in conclusion, the only pathological change of note was fatty liver disease. And I offered probable cause of death as 1A acute cardiac arrhythmia, an abnormality of the rhythm of the heart, due to 1B, fatty liver disease. I think in this case, it's most likely related to the deceased having had a high body mass index.
There was a second post-mortem too, and I wonder if this was why Megan's funeral was abruptly cancelled. That one found the same as the first. As the inquest draws to a close, Coroner Hassel hands down her determination.
I make the determination that death rose from natural causes, and I confirm this by signing the record of inquest this 16th day of November 2018.
Coroner's inquests don't always cover everything, but neither the pathologists, Megan's neurosurgeon, endocrinologist or GP mention a brain tumour. As we walk out of the court, we now have other, even bigger questions. No sign of serious infections, no sign of sort of other abnormalities with any other of her, with her organs, no sign of immunodeficiency, which was another thing that was claimed. I still am left wondering what really killed her. Like, I know what didn't kill her. It wasn't a brain tumour, it wasn't intracranial hypertension. I know what she died of, technically, in the ICU, but I don't know how it came to be still that a 23-year-old has such serious fatty liver disease that it results in them dying. That is suddenly a kind of a new mystery, really.
I don't want to say 1 in a million because it sounds a bit cliche, but you're getting close to those odds. It's extremely rare.
Professor Gavin Sandercock from the University of Essex is a sports scientist. He spent years studying the causes of fatty liver disease. On a purely medical level, cardiac arrhythmia caused by fatty liver disease in a 23-year-old is a natural cause of death. But it's so unusual for someone so young to die in this way that it doesn't feel like the end of the story.
Never even experienced it. I've only heard of it, so it's very rare in my experience.
Wow, okay. Professor Sandercock explains that fatty liver disease so severe that it could be linked to death is typically caused by living extremely unhealthily for years and years.
It's a chronic disease, and it's from chronic exposure to risk factors like obesity, like high blood glucose from diabetes and high cholesterol. So if you think of it as a sort of, a gradual injury to the liver, it's like the liver's being punched. It's being punched by glucose, being punched by cholesterol.
But unlike a brain tumour, it's a preventable condition, and in the early stages, treatable through lifestyle change, especially at a young age. It's Professor Sandercock's hunch that doctors would have tried repeatedly to encourage Megan to change her lifestyle.
This advice will have been received time and time again, not just by the individual, but also by their parent.
She dies at 23.
I mean, dying at 23 is rare. Dying at 23 of something chronic is even rarer.
We learnt a lot at the inquest, but there's still so many things I don't understand. Why wasn't the fatty liver disease dealt with sooner? Why did Megan refuse Lewis Thorne's procedure if she was at risk of going blind? How serious was her opiate-seeking behaviour? As I read back through the coroner's inquest, I realise it wasn't just about Megan. It was also about her mother, Jean. Jean was the constant presence in Megan's life. She was always there for every hospital visit or GP trip. She was at the inquest too, of course. She asked a lot of questions, which is completely understandable. But at times, she seemed to contradict and argue with the doctors. To find out why Megan ended up dying at just 23, I need to go back into her past and understand more about her life away from the Believing Magic spotlight. Jean is the person who can answer these questions, but she hasn't answered any of our emails. In fact, we're still trying to work out where she is. But there are other people besides Jean who might know. Although she was brought up alone, Megan wasn't an only child. She had 4 older siblings. We tried to contact Megan's 2 sisters right at the start of this project. We'd been told they were very private people, and for a whole year we waited for an answer. We'd almost given up, until one day, the sisters finally agreed to talk.
I don't think people realise how dangerous she is, how manipulative she is, how much of an effect she's had on people, and how entitled she is.
For the first time, they decided to go public with their side of the story.
It's like that godlike complex, isn't it? She can do what she likes and get away with it.
It's like a Bond theme.
Believe in Magic is a BBC Studios podcast. It's presented by me, Jamie Bartlett. The series producer is Ruth Mayer. The producer is Lucy Greenwell. Music by Jeremy Wormsley. Sound.
In our kitchen, we had an oak table, a firehouse table, and we had above it some cupboards. 4 of us would sit around the table, and every time we'd sit down for dinner, we'd play this game because there would always be a tin that would roll off the top of the cupboard and nearly hit us on the head.
I'm sitting with one of Megan's older sisters, another of Jean's daughters. We're going to call her Kate. She's talking about the regular family dinners with her 2 older brothers and older sister, way before Megan was born. Jean would be busy rustling up fish fingers or turkey drumsticks, all very normal, except with an added element of danger.
Oh my god, how embarrassing.
So we'd always know the sound of it rolling. So we'd always be like, we'd hear it and we'd be like, oh, like that. We'd like pretend to be like ninjas and like got it each time.
Kate ducks to the side and shoots out a hand, catching the now imaginary tin falling from above.
And the table was like battered from where all the tins fell off.
Well, I suppose what's strange is that you think that's not, or you did think that was normal.
Yeah, I never questioned why the tins fell off.
As she grew older, the memory stuck in Kate's head, and with time came the slow realisation that those dinner times were far from ordinary.
If a tin had ever fallen off something and nearly hit one of my kids, I would rearrange my whole kitchen. And then I started thinking, Hornset, why did she put the tins on top of the cupboard rather than inside the cupboards? The cupboards weren't full. And then also, why were they always falling at the times that we sat down for dinner? Do you know what? So things like that you're starting to work out, and it was almost like, now you go, oh, of course, because she wanted an accident. Jean wanted one of us to have an accident. And for us, that doesn't seem unusual or far-fetched. That explains what she was like.
Why do you think she wanted to have an accident?
Because she would have liked the excitement, the whole thrill of it, the attention.
Weird. I'm Jamie Bartlett. This is Believe in Magic, Episode 5, The Sisters.
I mean, I didn't try the other barrel. Have I tried this barrel? Let's try it out, haven't it?
Kate is in her late 30s. She's friendly and talks fluently and easily. There's a hint of relief somewhere in her voice, as if a weight has been lifted since she decided to tell her story. She has been going through her old emails and messages from Jean and her older sister, trying to make sense of it all. When the producer Ruth first contacted Kate over a year ago, she was hesitant. She was happy to help, but nervous about going on record. She'd broken off contact with her mum about 8 years ago and no longer wanted to be associated with her. But over time, she realised she needed to speak out. So she agreed to talk, but only if we change her name. I'm also anxious about talking to Kate. There's a lot we still don't know, and most of it revolves around the relationship between
What's this gun,
and Jean.
How's this gun not hitting? I mean, it hits hard, the same as, but it's got fire
fatty liver disease. But doctors were worried about the validity of Meg's medical history, possible morphine dependency, and the sheer number of medical professionals she was seeing. Kate could be our best chance to delve into Megan's past and understand what and who is behind all this.
So I was 12 when Meg was born, which is like perfect age, you know, because you just love babies at that point, and I just adored her and loved her.
By the time Megan was born in 1995, Jean already had 4 children, all from a previous marriage. But the relationship collapsed when Jean fell in love with her neighbour, a much younger man called Pinder. The pair moved in together, and Jean fell pregnant with Megan. Because her siblings were much older, by the time Megan was 3, all her brothers and sisters had left home. And then, when Megan was still young, Jean and Pinder separated.
Stu,
Meg's world started to shrink.
Very good, thank you. How are you?
Meg had been going to a small private
hey, good
school
time,
in
mate.
West Sussex.
Okay. Just waiting for my Call of Duty to update. It's fucking taking ages.
Okay.
Jake's in console Warzone as well, but he ain't fucking answering.
Ah, right. I guess it must be AFK then. I'm just doing a tiny bit of shipment and then off to bed.
Oh, fair enough, mate. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, no, how you doing? Keeping alright?
Yeah, sound mate, yeah, how are you?
Yeah, alright, not so bad. What games are you playing?
Kind of like the Peter Pan effect, like from her having that breast reduction.
I've been running quite a lot of Rocket League, to be fair.
Oh, have you? Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've been getting into that. I'm up to diamond rank, so yeah, going pretty well. But I don't know if you play it. Probably means nothing to you.
No,
yeah.
I know the game. I don't play it, but I mean,
yeah.
I do know it.
Yeah, up to diamond, which ain't too bad now. And yeah, So yeah, I only played Call of Duty like a week ago, and then realised it was Season 5 Reloaded, and it's fucked me, mate.
Oh really?
It's like a fucking 60 gig update on PC.
Yes, yes. I mean, I think it was more than that actually, but yeah, you have to just get another new hard drive.
Oh yeah, no, I've got enough memory and all that. It's just I didn't realise, so now it's taking me fucking ages to update it.
Yeah.
Getting some better internet in the next like month or two. So yeah, should be sound after that.
Oh nice. Yeah. I mean, better internet's always good.
Yeah, I got like 60 meg at the minute, but I'm getting like 250 or 400 or something like that.
Oh right. 60 should be fine. 60 should be fine for the game.
Yeah, it is, but it just takes fucking ages to update, especially when like I'm in the chat with you on Discord and it's like 44 and it's doing 8 megaseconds. Do you know what I mean?
Right, yeah, that's...
I get 60, but there's like a cap on it when you update it.
No, mine was doing something stupid. I think mine was doing 18 megabit a second. I just left it do it. But yeah, I don't even it's a pain in the bum.
I mean, if I had 18, I'd probably be done by now, to be fair.
Yeah, well, yeah, you would. Yeah. Yeah, that sucks. I don't know why. Have you tried what I did? Because mine went down to 1 megasecond at one stage. And Ryan said he had that issue as well, and he just restarted it. Stopped it and restarted it. Because like, really,
well, I don't think it's gonna get much higher than 8. Do you know what I mean?
Really?
7 is normally my peak.
Alright.
But like I said, I got 60 gig a second, but even on Ethernet connection,
I think it's
fucking like dire slow. It's the servers.
Yeah.
It's the servers you download it from, and yeah, it just fucks you.
For how far you are away from that server?
Well, it's still a Europe server, but like even on PlayStation, do you know what I mean? There would be a cap. So yours is 18, so you probably got a decent connection, but it's not the full like potential.
No, I don't think I have got that decent a connection really. So,
are you wired? Or?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yes. I don't know, mate. PC's broken. I've got no like bandwidth sort of limit on it. It's all like as high as it can be, even in the settings. But yeah, no, I don't get it.
No, that doesn't make sense. But yeah, perseverance, you'll get there.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I've just been updating the game. I've been playing a bit of what did I play a second ago? Oh no, I was watching a stream in a Discord channel I was on. Yeah, still takes ages.
Yeah.
I want to play a bit of COD, but yeah, it's fucked me.
I play if I'm not doing this, I play iRacing. It really is. That's about it at the moment.
iRacing, I don't think I've even played that ever.
iRacing. Yeah, it's PC, but you need a driving rig.
You're on
really.
PC,
yeah,
do you?
Yeah.
Oh fuck, sorry mate, I didn't realise. I thought you were on like PlayStation or something.
No, on PC.
Oh sorry, my bad. Yeah. No, I haven't played that. I've heard of Trackmania. That's another good one.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, it's just hard, man.
I do a set of Corsa Competizione and iRacing, but I think I prefer iRacing.
I used to play like Gran Turismo on PlayStation.
Oh, nice.
All the like heat. What are they fucking called? Like fastest lap time and all that shit.
Yeah.
Sprints and that, doing like the world records and that. But yeah, it was hard, that game. And I used to like the old Forzas.
Yeah.
But like the motorsports.
Yeah,
I played the motorsports as well, which is a bit more technical.
Yeah.
And I played the Horizons. They're a bit more arcadey, but they're still good.
Yeah.
It still takes a lot of skill to win them.
Check out. If you like drive racing, it's like I have a simulator, so the steering wheel and all that kind of stuff. And pedals.
You actually?
Yeah.
Oh mate, you got the whole setup here, Stu. Look at you, man.
Yeah, triple
You're
monitors.
Fucking baller. You're fucking triple monitors. You fucking shit me.
No.
Mate, you're a baller. You got your own little fucking rig set up.
Oh yeah.
Fair play to you, Stu.
Yeah.
That's class, man.
That's
I would
awesome.
love a little racing simulator setup, but it's a lot of money, mate.
It is a lot of money. It's
that's all for your PC.
Yeah, I've got 2 PCs. I've got 3 PCs here, to be fair. But they're.
Oh yeah, fair enough. I'm an amateur here. Yeah, fair enough. I'm just gonna fucking sit back down and shut up with my one PC, which I thought was really good. Yeah, so fair enough, Stu.
It's fine.
Fucking hell.
It is ridiculous.
All I ever see you play is COD. That's all I've ever played with you, and never knew any of this shit.
Oh yeah, no, I play.
Never knew any of this.
Well, when I'm not working, I'll do that. And honest to God, it's spiraled out of control. It's like honestly, the driving sim now is like real car money now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is, mate. But like when you get into PCs, you know you're in for it. Then it's just a money pit. Even if you get the highest spec at that time, there's so many accessories. Yeah. And then after like a couple of more months, you get a higher megahertz frequency like RAM, and then you go from there. And the next thing is CPU, fans, fucking new case, new GPU. It's all of it, mate. So fair play to you though. Like having a racing simulator with PCs, man. That's a lot of money. So fair enough.
I've been in computers for like 30 years. So.
Oh no, I haven't.
Yeah. No,
so I'm 26, but I got into it about probably 4 years ago. And I researched the fuck out of it because I know how sort of daunting it is to someone that just jumps into it and gets a plug and play PC. Do you know what I mean? I decided to custom build one.
That's fine.
And I decided to research it so I could just know the ins and outs and optimize my PCs to the best capability. Because a lot of people have good PCs, but they don't know how to optimize them, and they run like shit. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And you know that, having free, So
it is. It's wonderful. It's a beautiful hobby. I mean,
it is, mate. It is. It's a lot of money.
I know. I've got so many computers, it is ridiculous. But I work with computers, so it is.
Oh, do you actually? Oh, there we go, mate. It's your forte. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was then my forte. I'm a tradesman. I'm a floor layer, and it became a hobby of mine. But it's an expensive fucking hobby.
Good hobby.
Yeah, but it's good. It's great, and it's quite technical, so it teaches you a lot. As well, I found with PC building it gave me a lot more patience because I fucked up a few times, and I even had to buy a new motherboard at one point when I first built it before I even got it up and running, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I then put more research into it and just became a lot more sort of like savvy with it.
Yeah.
And it benefited me massively for optimizing it and keeping it how it is now, keeping it cool, all of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Are you water cooling now? Or are you air cooling?
I have water cooled CPU. I'm not like water blocked PC. Do you know what I mean?
No.
I'm not that far because that shit is very, very technical. And in the terms of, I don't know if you got any water block PCs, have you?
No. I do. I've got one that is water cooled, but you know I don't.
Yeah,
use,
same as mine. Yeah.
I don't do.
I'm sure you've seen the water blocks.
Oh yeah. They look pretty.
Mate, you need to add. Yeah, they do. But even after you build them, if they don't leak, So what you just said, but like they don't leak, you still have to syringe a certain type of coolant into the water, and also at the same time filter that water like a certain amount of times every like few months. And for me, mate, enough for me is changing the CPU paste. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The thermal grizzy on the CPU paste, that's enough for me every few years. How the fuck they do that with the water blocks, building them, and then maintaining them through them few months? It's crazy. Because as good as it is, sorry, I will stop. But as good as it is having a water block PC, there's so much maintenance that you can't almost just enjoy the aspect of what you've built. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to use it to do what you want to do, but you have to fucking maintain it more than you actually have to. There's a lot more effort in that, in my opinion.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get you.
It's crazy.
I'd rather just the PC work, isn't it?
Yeah.
What
like change it.
What are you running at the moment?
At the minute, I'm running a 3070 with a 10850K and 32 gigs of RAM. 32 gig RAM at 3600, so DDR4.
Yeah.
But I am looking into it heavily, and mate, I'll be honest. A few months ago, I even bought the PC simulator on Epic Games, and I'm fucking just been going through that. I'll be honest, like as much as they're all different and you need different components, as long as you make sure them components are right with your motherboard, and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah. As long as you've got that right, then you're happy days.
Yeah.
Because even through the simulator, it taught me a lot. Where you can look at different motherboards of different like sort of capacities, DDR4, DDR5, even DDR3. It goes down to, and you can see the difference on where and the best way to sort of put it in the right places. Because a lot of people don't realise that you can build a PC and you put it in the right place and it works and it runs how it should. But there's also multiple places on your motherboard where you can put certain things that get the fullest capacity out of them. And I don't know if you noticed that if you're building PCs, but there's more than one slot for one thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where it will actually work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been really good, mate. I love PCs, I really do. Like mine's like a RGB motherfucker, and I've got lights fucking booming all over me that are rainbow.
Yeah,
but
nice.
I'm a bit like that. I like a visual beauty, whereas you see a lot of PCs. I'm in a lot of groups of it now. Over the years, where you see a lot of people put up like the non-RGB units. You look at it and you're like, that's a work of art. You look at like the cable management behind the motherboard or the base plate, and it's like, it's crazy. You just see him cutting the zip ties off in the video, and you're like, mate, if I could do it like that, I would just do it for a living. Because they make a lot of money doing it for a living. They really do.
I quite enjoy it.
If you're in the right area.
Yeah, I mean, I quite enjoyed taking it apart and putting it together again and making sure it's pretty, spending time doing cable management.
So I've got a mate who's quite a successful streamer, but he always has like typical sort of PC issues. So he doesn't really understand how gentle and fragile you have to be with certain components when he changes them.
Oh dear.
I told him to get better RAM in order to get better FPS, and I told him you've got a good GPU, but your CPU's bottlenecking it.
Yeah.
So I gave him all this advice, and over the months, I've watched him, and he still has issues. But he's the sort of bloke where you say, look, mate, right, so you've got, let's just say RAM, for example. You got the two clips, you pull the sticks of RAM out, you unloose them first, and then you pull them out. You got to be really gentle with it, because there's a motherboard at the end of the day. They're very temperamental things. And I've told him all this shit, and he put new RAM in, like I said, and you could tell that after he managed to play one game and it just crashed. So I said, it's got to be a boot up issue for it to be that quick. So he pulled out a stick of RAM, and I said, right, if you click 6 down, he's like, what sticks? He's like, I'm like, the little pins that are above like the unit, the block. Like you need to pull them up and pull them down, like you were probably then. And he had no idea. So I'm like, right, you force them into position. They're probably damaged at this point. Luckily, he managed to get it through the warranty, and he got some new blocks. But
wow,
look, I was if you asked me this shit a year and a half ago, even a year ago, I probably wouldn't know what you're on about. But when you get a PC, I always got told, luckily a lot of mates had PCs before I got one, and they said, look, just research before you buy anything. And that's exactly what I did.
Nice.
That's exactly what I did. And I benefited from it massively. I have a 3070, like I said, and I know a lot of people that play Warzone. I don't know if you ever play with Kana Humpy. I think I might have invited him once upon a time when we were playing with you.
Maybe.
But like people like him, and he's got like this 4060 and another guy that's got a 4080 since it come out.
Yeah.
And their PCs run like shit, mate.
Really?
They run like shit. I got 3070 that will outmax it. They get shitter FPS than I do. Like, it's ridiculous. It is mental, but it's just money.
Yeah, I know.
I know I've been waffling on. So if you want to get off,
I'm just on shipment. Don't worry. I'm running a 3070 Ti on this one. It's great. Really.
Yeah.
I've got a 4060 the other day for my work machine, which is nice.
Ooh.
But
what do you do? Graphic design or what?
No, I lecture in computing.
Really?
Yeah.
You got a 4060, like a little upgrade for your PC.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
That's the one. My home office, my work office has a 3080, and I run 6 monitors at work.
On a 3080?
On a 3080, yeah.
But that's multitasking with different windows, yeah, like professional sort of business windows, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, do you use a lot of Microsoft or not? Like Microsoft Word and PowerPoint? Yeah. So there we go. So it can withstand something like that amazingly. But you see, have you seen all these graphic designers in any of the chat? Are you in any other chats?
No, I used to work in graphics. So.
Right, so you know, they've got dual 4090s with like 128 gig of DDR5 RAM on like these mad, like most of them are with 2 GPUs and water blocked CPUs and that. It's crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be quite that much, but
no, it doesn't. No. But you see them and you just think to yourself, like, they must be earning some crazy money.
I mean,
and they're asking for advice.
Yeah, no, we have chained GPUs at work for supercomputing processing, which is pretty impressive stuff. No,
wow.
Yeah.
Are they 30 series as well or not?
No, they're what do they call it? It's like there's a whole nother
2060
series.
Supers?
No, there's another series of computers that there's GPUs that are specifically built for.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah, no, I wouldn't know nothing about anything else.
I think they're called something like 6000s or something. But they
not the RX.
Yeah.
The Radeons.
No,
yeah, the Radeon cards.
No, not right. Not these ones are Nvidia. But built for.
These are on Nvidia.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really. Are they called like something Pro X something? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've heard of them.
But then they're normally, you hear people using them for crypto mining or for building.
Supercomputers. Yeah. There was some Nvidia cards that were high performance that were called X series, and I see a lot of that, like X570 or some shit like that, and I see it, and it would outperform like my card. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. That's the
But it's not for gaming.
No,
it's like a different sort of performance, like you say, mining and stuff.
Yeah, so it's for doing lots of calculations, lots of concurrent calculations. So it's good for doing things like supercomputing or for, cryptocurrency stuff.
Yeah.
Apparently, I don't work in that area, but.
That's crazy to think, though, isn't it? That there's graphic cards out there that's probably more powerful that could be optimized for gaming, but no one actually has access to it.
Yeah, I know.
But you see all these 4090s running 4K at over 144 hertz.
Yeah.
And it's mental. With like 3900Ks or Radeon CPUs, it's.
My driving sim has a 3090 Ti in it.
Sorry, I keep saying Radeon. I'm thinking about graphics cards. I'm all about AMD.
Yeah. No, I run AMD chips mainly on my machines as well. I prefer them. I don't know why. Just got into them.
Well, instead of the Intel, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've always found that there's more performance with Intel.
It used to be, and then it changes hand back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But I think they're pretty comparable at the moment. I think they're pretty good. I'm not getting a bottleneck from it.
So. Yeah. Have you seen Intel have made their own graphics cards?
Yeah.
What was it, like the A5?
That's it.
A500 or some shit. Like, it's crazy.
It's about time, really. It should be.
It is, but they're actually with every update, so they're not as good as the cards that are like comparable at the moment. But with every update, they're making them better. Because they've actually on a lot of systems they made of integrated graphics. Because all sort of, well, I say all, but some Intel systems have had integrated graphics, but they were never as good. Do you know what I mean? If you didn't have a graphics card, it didn't matter. If you were using it for like Microsoft Home, you could use the PowerPoint and shit like that. You didn't need an actual sort of like NVIDIA graphics card. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they made the fucking A500s or whatever. They've actually made their own, and the XRC, is it? I don't know. But yeah, they are. They're going to be compatible very soon.
Yeah, I won't be surprised. What is that?
The way they update them is better than Nvidia and AMD.
Oh yeah.
They've jumped the ranks on the updating like massively. But if you think about Intel and the data they've sort of consumed over the years, they've been doing it since before Nvidia, and that. So it's about time they actually tried to start competing.
I think they just had the market to themselves for so long.
They did, yeah.
They don't seem to give a shit. They're just doing their own thing.
They make so much money.
They are making a lot of money. Right, I'm going to jump off, mate.
Alright, Stu.
No worries.
Yeah, take it easy, mate.
No worries. I'm off to
nice to speak to you, mate.
Yeah, no, I'm off
to work.
No, wedding tomorrow, so...
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, get off, be fresh.
Yeah, no,
I know the drill, mate.
Yeah, I'll speak to Ryan earlier. He joined for a little bit, and then I said to him he had to go to work. He's working tomorrow, but yeah, as soon as...
Is he still a key holder at M&S?
He's still a key holder at M&S. I don't know what that
M&S, yeah, that's what he does normally. I've known him quite a long time. Same as
M&S.
Same as Jake. Jake I know real life, but he knew Ryan. I met Ryan through him.
Yeah.
Funny thing was, I used to play a lot of GTA about 4 years prior to meeting him on COD.
Oh, nice.
Turns out I knew him from there, which is really weird when you think of how big the world is and like the servers and stuff.
No, it is.
So yeah, it was a weird one.
That's nuts.
Yeah, no, Ryan is a key holder at M&S, and but he's a lovely bloke and he's a good player.